And we're fortunate to have with us two professors from Tennessee State University to talk about blacks and the Declaration of Independence. Dr. Bobby Lovett. Dr. Lovett is the Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences at Tennessee State University and also a professor in the Department of History at Tennessee State University. Along with Dr. Lovett is Professor RWard. RWard is a political science teacher or instructor at Tennessee State University, professor at Tennessee State University. And gentlemen, let me welcome both of you to the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
What we'd like to do this morning, Dr. Lovett and Dr. Ward, is to recognize that tomorrow we will celebrate the 4th of July, or the Declaration of Independence. And essentially what we'd like to do this morning is to have the two of you to talk about blacks and African Americans and other minorities perhaps during this period of the celebration of the Declaration of Independence, that is prior to the celebration of the Declaration of Independence. But before we do that, let's have the two of you to give us some background information about your own background and your own education that led you eventually to the positions that you now occupy.
Well, Dr. Haney, I'm a native of Memphis, Tennessee, born and raised there, finished Booker T. Washington High School, went across the river to Arkansas, where I did my undergraduate work at Arkansas A&M State College, and then my master's and PhD work at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville.
Very good. And of course now you are the Dean of
the College of Arts
and Sciences at Tennessee State University. Yeah. You're also involved in quite a bit of history too, are you not, Dr. Lovett?
Yes, I do remain active as a historian, as a researcher and writer, as much as I possibly can, in spite of my administrative responsibilities.
Very good. And Dr. Ward, let's talk about your background and some information relative to some of the things you've been involved in.
Well, I'm originally from Alabama. In fact, a small town in Alabama, Headland, Alabama. It's near Dothan, Alabama. I did my undergraduate work at Alabama State University, located in Montgomery, Alabama, and a master's degree in political science from Atlanta University, and my doctorate in political science from the University of Missouri at Columbia. And since that time, I've spent time not only in teaching, but I spent some years in government, working in the Reagan administration as Deputy Undersecretary for Intergovernmental Relations, also with the Washington, D.C. Personnel Department. And when I left government service, I took a position at Indiana State University, which I was there for a few years, and then eventually came to Tennessee State University.
Very good. And Dr. Lovett, let's talk about the historical background leading to the Declaration of Independence and perhaps the significant aspect of the black population during this period in early American history.
Well, as you know, Dr. Haney, the Declaration of Independence was a result of the American Revolutionary War. And that particular document, which was developed in the Continental Congress through a committee headed by Thomas Jefferson, was basically a response to why the colonies should go to war against the mother country, England. And so if you look at the Declaration of Independence, it really was basically a propaganda document, as phrased then, because the biggest part of it says why we should go to war and why we are justified in rebelling against England. The Declaration, as you know, is in three parts. The preamble, which is the introduction part of it, and then, of course, the body part of it is that list of charges. The King George has done this, he's done this against us, he's taken away our liberties and so on, and then a concluding part of the Declaration of Independence. How does it relate to black Americans? Well, one of the parts of the Declaration does allude to the issue of slavery, which at that time was practiced in all of the 13 colonies. And it basically blames George III in England for imposing the institution of bondage upon the 13 colonies, because England basically controlled the slave trade across the Atlantic between America and Africa. But on the other hand, there was a problem in declaring liberty, justice, and equality for all men, and that all men have certain unalienable rights. Because the head of the committee that wrote that declaration was a slave owner, Thomas Jefferson, and they sort of revised that portion of the declaration so that it would not exactly say that this means the end of slavery in the 13 colonies. And in that day and time, black Americans comprised perhaps somewhere in the neighborhood of 25% of the colonial population.
So it's a significant number of black people in early colonial America at the time of the Declaration.
And in the southern colonies, they comprised close to 40%. In Virginia, they were close to 50%. And in North and South Carolina, about that particular proportion as well. So blacks made up a large proportion of the population, and about 10% of them were free, so not all blacks were slaves. At the same time, about 5,000 or more of them fought in the American Revolution as soldiers, and so they were not bystanders, they were significant participants at that time. So when the Declaration was issued, it did have a lot of implications for the ending of slavery. And in fact, after the Revolutionary War, that is the beginning of the end of slavery. In fact, during the war, Massachusetts changes her constitution in 1780 and outright abolishes slavery. And by 1784, the other northern states have begun to pass what we call gradual abolition acts that will gradually phase slavery out in those states. The southern states will hold out, and as you know, in 1861-65, it will take violence, war, in order to cleanse the nation completely of the institution of slavery. So you may say that the Declaration of Independence was sort of the beginning of bringing the issue of human liberty to the forefront, and that included the issue of slavery.
Very good. And of course, Professor Ward, from your position as a not only a government worker, but also as a professor of political science at Tennessee State University, let's look at this declaration from a political point of view, and perhaps the impact that this declaration had, as Dr. Lovett indicated, upon black Americans at the time, or black people at the time.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to always keep in mind here when we discuss the Declaration of Independence, that fundamentally, the Declaration of Independence was a liberation instrument for Europeans to get from under the control of Great Britain. And when you examine what the document says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they're endowed by God with certain inalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Well, it's kind of hard to pursue happiness when you're a slave. And so what we would like to think of, the Declaration of Independence set some parameters by which we can at least, as Dr. Lovett indicated, start moving in the direction of the liberation movement for all peoples. And of course that process is still going on. If we get contemporary right quickly, and look at what has just happened with Denny's, and just prior to that with the Shoney's restaurant chain. So we still are in a process of trying to become a part of mainstream America. And I think if you look at the role of the federal government here, the federal government has recognized that there are some people in our society, among which are blacks among that group, that have not made it. And as a result of that, we still have to continue the struggle. If you look at the Constitution, we the people, it's difficult to come to any kind of conclusion how that inculcated to have anything to do with black people in this country. But if you look at that in a real